Hey, hey, what's up, y'all? Joel, could you actually unmute your phone? What's up, y'all? Welcome to REUZEL Live today. I am Scumbassador Stephanie Buckley, and I am with Joel Tenser,
Hi there.
coming live to you from Rogue Salon in Tucson, Arizona. So here you go, buddy. Take it away.
All right. Well, guys, my name's Joel, as she just said, from Tucson, Arizona, the owner of Rogue Salon. And yeah, we're here to cut some hair today. I've brought my friend Steve here, who has some amazing, voluminous, decently dense texture here. And we have a crop planned for you today, which is one of our modern cuts from the REUZEL University textbook. It's categorized by clipper over comb through the sides, vertical blending through the transition, and some square heavy texture through the top so that he can wear it forward, back, a little bit messy, undone, however he chooses. I chose this cut today because it's one of my favorites to talk about the navigation of our haircuts. But before we get into Steve's hair, I brought my friend Samuel. Samuel comes with me to most of my classes, by the way. And he is broken up into the zones of our haircut. We have 4 zones that we usually navigate through most of our haircuts. We have the interim, the middle, which is where we do our primary partings, the baseline. Usually we start there and work down to zone 1. We have zone 3, which is our transition, and zone 4, which is our Mohawk. And that's where we get most of the volume, the fun of the hair. All right, so we're going to reference Samuel a couple times through this lesson. And we're going to start in by wetting down Steve's hair. Love it when the tools work with us. All right, so first off, in my water bottle, I have the blue hair tonic, which not only smells wonderful, but is our cleansing product. This is going to allow us to break down any product that's already in the hair, allow us to move quicker, and because it just smells so delicious, it starts that conversation of product right out the gateway. So I'm right-handed, so I am going to start here on the right-hand side. And I did choose a bright orange comb so we can all see what I'm doing here through his hair, which is pretty dense and dark, as you see. By the way, setting up his hair with water allows us to see what it's going to want to do with product. Water is truth serum, Rob says, and it allows us to kind of evenly predict what we can mimic with product and how it's going to end up. So we find our primary parting, and you can see his hair naturally really wants to go with me here. But before we get into that, to find the primary parting, again, that parietal ridge right at the top of zone 2, we can inverse the 290 degrees here, right about there at the recession point. But it's really easier just to part along from that recession back. So all of our haircuts do dip towards the crown just a little bit. But being that this is from the modern collection, we get to follow more of a horseshoe shape just in general. a little bit more contoured to him. Now for this cut, I am going to start by sectioning the entire crown off to make sure that we're following that soft horseshoe shape. But we are still going to be working on the dominant side to our less dominant side. Again, me being a righty, I'm going to start on the right. And he does have a number of cowlicks, but who doesn't? That's what makes this cut so much fun. All right, so as we start in, I'm going to pick up my clippers, which I do have the Keone REUZEL clippers with a fade blade. Excuse me, the taper blade, which I'm keeping at a closed position while I do my clipper over comb work. And as I start in, and bring all of the hair up perpendicular, and I'm going about 2 fingers width from the scalp, keeping the tops of the tips of the teeth of the comb vertical. And in the mirror, if we can see, we want to be able to balance a marble on it and have it stay rather than slope off. So starting square over the ear, which is the squarest part of the head, working in about 1.5, maybe 2 inches of area so that I'm in control. And I'm stepping so that I'm in front of the section, working towards the face. And as I work through the side, working in an even section, being able to find my previous guide and continue. So I can almost feel Duncan's eyes through the cameras here. I had just been to Rotterdam not long ago, and while I was there, I had the lovely opportunity to work with some amazing barbers who all told me to keep an eye on my posture. So I want to make sure that I'm standing square, tall, and that I can see the angle that I'm trying to create here. Now, please pardon me. I'm going to reach for my water, make sure that it's all even moisture as I'm working. And like a typewriter, bringing all that down, we're going to work square to it. So I'm going to start to angle the tops of the tips of the teeth of the comb, more at a 45, find that previous guide right here at the top, and working down. So when Rob was teaching the class in Rotterdam, he wanted to make sure that we had a clear line of sight between what we're working at and where we're going to. That's why we step in front of our section and keep our body square to it. Notice I'm only going right to the center and working down. So as I get right above the ears, I have a finger anchored just below it. My guide is set, and off it goes. So as I'm working through, we are doing just the sketch of our cut. Pardon me, working towards the light here. So what I mean by that is we're working through and eliminating the weight, creating in that shape, and we're going to come back through once it's dry and finished and personalize it. Clean up any imperfections. And again, through the camera, I hear those voices, those shoes of Duncan's. You gotta stand tall. If you have it, work the chair so that you get the right height. I'm gonna tilt you just a little bit. And eliminating, just so we have a little bit to taper from. And notice that that's set right below the mandible processor, excuse me. So I can easily come up and use his bone structure to help me taper. Now this is a clipper over comb technique. I'm just eliminating some of the bulk. We're going to come back through and refine that in a little bit. Working to the other side now. Keeping that length up and out of my way. And again, coming in about 2 fingers width from the scalp, vertical teeth of the comb, turning to check myself in that mirror as I make that first decisive cut. 2 fingers, square, and still in the area where I have control. Working a little bit more forward. And I can work in combination of using the stepping method and turning the chair so that I'm in control over where my lighting is. Right. So I have the preference of using a taper blade when I'm doing my clipper over comb. That's just a preference. The idea behind the tools is that we're using some level of consistency, because consistency on our end means a consistent product goes out of the chair. Again, finding that angle, getting that 45, zipping a little bit off. So one of the ways that we in the Scumbassador team practice consistency, you'll see a lot of us using these clipper combs. And that's so we have consistency throughout our brands, and we get into good practice. You know, we get to see a level of work from using consistent tools and client satisfaction. And ultimately, that's what matters more than our art, is that the patron has a good experience and enjoys the cut that they go home with. So just a little, nice and smooth. Just like a typewriter, working down, angling out, getting a little bit of balance here, and off it goes. And as I'm working, I'm feeling that drying out. I'm reaching my spray bottle. And again, working like a typewriter or like you're mowing the lawn. find our guides, match them, and zip it off. Not getting too absorbed into any of those details, because again, we're going to clean those up as we come back through. Tilt you just slightly. And again, we're just removing bulk. Starting to anchor the tail of the comb, which I know is about a 1.5 guard if you use that. That gives me a sense of quickness to not have to reach for those guards, and a little bit of freedom so that we can balance and taper by hand. That's a preference, of course. Use your tools as you are comfortable. For me, all right, so we have the shape of our fade or taper set in. A couple details to clean up once we work it back through when it's dry. And as I transition into the top, again, working with even moisture. Now I'm tall, but I got to bring Steve down to where I am in control over the cut here. So the crop haircut. This one, we have a slightly different parting because instead of doing horizontal transition, we're doing a vertical transition. So instead of creating more movement, we're eliminating weight and adding in texture. So what we're going to do for this one, we're going to do a parting straight down the center here. All the way front to back, including that crown. And then I'm going to come over to the side. We're going to find the apex, which is the highest point. I'm going to balance the comb so I can find where that wants to leave its head. And I'm going to follow from that point down to the top of the ear. And again on the other side. And so I have right now 4 sections, the 2 corners and our crown. And then we do have a 5th section, but that one comes a little bit later. We're going to do a mohawk and work from back to front with point cutting and a lot of texture. So I'm going to reach for my straight shears, which are the Skorum Mizutani Black Masters. Some of my favorites. These are amazing, amazing tools. And of course, you can do the same cut with any scissors. The tools are less important than the plan of action and your consistency as the artist. So starting square to the ear, working in about a 1/2 inch section, I'm going to take with the wide tooth of my comb, a vertical section, and I'm going to find that same blending angle that I had left with, and make sure I have a good palm to palm connection here, and we're going to eliminate that weight. Come back through just to extend it, make sure that my angle is smooth. All right. So I'm going to take a little bit of that previous section, take another small slice here, and Again, working palm to palm, angling out, finding that movement. And again, we're going to just double check ourselves for smoothness, for texture. So I'm going to try and do this upside down to try and better illustrate it. Maybe this would be a bit easier for you to see. But again, I have my guide here. I have my guide coming right through. Clean section. And one, up angle, two. As we get to the hairline, we do try to keep, again, mostly square here, but we have to compensate for the material. Everyone's got a recession. And so how I do that is by slightly directing that fringe back. One and I can see that we have movement that I like. I'm going to work all the way around to the opposite side here, starting on the non-dominant, my left-hand side. Again, even moisture. And right over that ear. Let me cut that out. So I am going to work in a couple fun texturizing techniques. Do a little bit of point cutting through the top here. I know in our class, Rob was showing us some amazing slice cutting, point cutting techniques to really get some extra manipulation, and I'll try and work some of that in for you guys.
Hey, Joel.
Yes, Steph?
I got a question for you.
Okay.
What are your 3 favorite REUZEL pomade products? And how much
Ooh,
do you love
my
being a
3. Do I have to
Scumbassador?
stick with pomades? Or can I just say any
No.
REUZEL product? Okay. So my 3 favorite products right now, I am always reaching for the astringent foam as one of our cleansers. That's usually something I do at the end of the service. Leaves the client feeling nice and fresh. And it's also an astringent foam, so it closes up all of those pores. Let's spritz in here, excuse me. So the astringent foam is my favorite. I love the Severed Head pomade, our collaboration with Liquid Death. This is an amazing, amazing clay product. It gives great lift and texture and separation. And then I would probably say my last favorite is the REUZEL Tap. So I use this just about every day on myself. I get a little extra sheen on my ink, which I've got mostly covered up for you today. But those are usually my go-tos to personalize a service, leave myself and my clients feeling nice and fresh as they leave the chair, confident to take on any obligation throughout the day. If I had to choose a fourth, definitely the green. The greases are my go-to. That's where I started with this product about 8-9 years ago, and I still love it. All right, so as we work to the crown, we're still following that same section, and we're just going to work all the way around to blend to our previous, where we left off on the right-hand side. Excuse me. And again, trying to work palm to palm here, finding our same angle. I have our guide just in front of me and vertical. And again. So George Acatato, one of the gentlemen who helped us write the REUZEL textbook, had always said to work palm to palm for consistency as well as predictability. Work like a typewriter.
All right, Joel. So we're about halfway through. I just wanted to let you know we do have a bunch of people viewing from all over. We got Chile, Vietnam, Chicago, Guatemala, and we got Nick, who is 32,000 feet up in the air, hanging out with us right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's looking good. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free, and I will relay to Joel.
Do.
Oh yeah, we got Texas. All right, looking good.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are today. The support is lovely. Again, working overhanded here just so you can see, still following that previous guide, that vertical sectioning, and working up to that second knuckle. Here's a fun story. Speaking of Nicholas, who's up in the air. When he was cutting my hair a few years back, we were doing a show, and he had me turned around from the crowd, and he said, "Don't cut past your second knuckle. You'll cut yourself, and that hurts." And somebody in the crowd turns around and says, "That's why we all have knuckle tattoos." Got a good chuckle from the crowd. That was a week after I'd gotten my knuckles done the first time. So they were still healing and fresh. Love it. Love being a barber trope. And you know what? I'm proud of them. All right, still working in vertical sections, finding those previous guides, and square to myself to that second knuckle, re-angling, double checking. Now notice we're still leaving plenty of weight here in the crown. Again, it's still going to jump, it's going to move, it's going to do its thing, but we're allowing it to do so. Clean sections are going to keep you in control here. I know I'm trying to illustrate, but I still hear Duncan and Rob in the back of my head. Correct your posture, watch where you're going. Nicholas would tell me, don't whip and nay-nay. Not a dance competition. And basically, we're playing a game of connect the dots of our own design. Having multiple guides keeps us in control. Working in clean sections allows you to find those guides easier. It's a smooth plan of attack. And again, we can step, we can turn the chair, whatever keeps us square to that section. And I found where my two guides meet again. Nice. All right, so we still have some serious length on top. We've got this fringe that's nice and messy. I'm going to spread some down again. So that was how we worked through the transition. We call that zone 3, again, to reference Samuel here. Boom. And we're going to work into zone 4, which is our Mohawk. And actually, it's going to be pretty much parted like this. So what I'm going to do here, make sure it's not dripping into his face too much. Doing okay with us? Sure. Awesome. So I'm creating that Mohawk section for myself just as a visual. I know that I'm going to be working just about to here. And so I start here in the crown, keep a little bit of that up away from me. And I'm flipping all of this vertical. So I can find my corner. I can see the guide as it came from around that crown at that vertical transition. And I can see the far other corner of where I'm going. So I want to make sure I have the right grip here because I'm doing more of a medium point cut through this. And we're going to chip that away. Square. So again, working in that Mohawk, moving just a little bit more forward. Vertical. And you can see why this translates so well to how we talk about our navigation. Because
Hey, Joel.
sectionings. Yes, Steph?
I think we lost your audio.
Uh-oh. Interesting. I don't have anything on my end. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Interesting.
Yes, can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Uh-oh. Okay. I don't know what happened there.
Yep, you're
Oh,
good.
and
You're
there's a
good.
delay.
Yes, can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Uh-oh. Okay. I don't know what happened there.
Yep, you're good.
Oh,
You're
there's a
good.
delay.
Yes, can hear you now.
Well, we're continuing. All right. So I have it up again, vertical, square, finding that previous guide because 2 guides is better than 1. And again, point cutting through that section. This is, again, still a rough draft, and we're going to make it more fun and messy as we go. And I'm trying to work in 1/2 inch to 1 inch areas through this Mohawk section. And Steph, because I know we had a delay thing going on, I just want to double check. Are we still good? Well, okay. Keeping it going, keeping it real. We have our previous guide and chipping away still. Working only to that second knuckle. Square sections. And at that hairline, up again square, find that previous guide. And chip on through. So at this length, while he wears it, he usually wears it up, but I want to do a little bit of texture in case he doesn't style it that day. And I'm just going to go to the fringe, elevate it up 90 degrees, find some of that previous guide, and again, point cut through some of that. We're just adding a little bit of lift and texture there. This is one of the ways that I'm detailing it. You can change and have fun with the fringe. These are part of how we personalize some of these haircuts. So again, up 90 degrees forward from the head, finding that corner and just chipping through some of it. So that when it's worn down, it's nice and messy. Feels pretty good and balanced. And when it's done up, can nicely, smoothly move to the side without having a hard parting or anything like that. Okay. Switch with me here. All right, so I'm going to start moving into the blow dry, which we use a hair tonic as one of our wet set products. I love the grooming tonic. This has a little bit of shine, a little bit of hold, and it smells wonderful. So I am just filling my palm, no drip, and that's a good amount to start with. I'm sure you can see immediately his hair reacts. It moves with us so much better. And part of the fun of this haircut is that it is messy. You want to be tactile. If we can get away without using much of a brush, it's going to be easier for them to feel like they can take home and recreate it in the mirror on their own. So I'm going to use my hands. My blow dryer is set to medium heat, high airflow, and I'm starting here in the crown. Kind of a wide finger technique, following the shape of his head. I'm starting in the crown because we're going to start moving everything to and from this area. And we don't want to be putting hair onto, or wet hair onto dry hair. Make ourselves work harder than we need to. What's nice about doing a hand technique, not only is it quicker feeling for everyone involved, but it does give you that real tactile sensation. You know, I'm keeping the top out of my way, working in areas around that head through that transition that I'm in control over. And I'm mostly going to be sending his hair back today. That's just my personal preference. So by pulling that fringe out of the way, I can get right into the root of the area I'm working. I'm in control over the little bit, and I'm really letting little bits out as we work through it. All right. Working through to the other side. If you can, switch hands. Being ambidextrous is quite a practice skill. I still kind of struggle with it, but we're seeming to do all right today. So we had just finished the rough draft, the sketch of our haircut. We're going to start working into the details, and we at REUZEL try to do this dry so that we can see how the hair is reacting, where it's moving, and where the extra density really lies, so that we can really personalize it. And you can see his hair naturally, even though yes, we've done some point cutting, his hair naturally has some awesome, awesome texture, awesome movement. It's already got that shape that we're looking for and just kind of naturally flows over. And if you can, always check in the mirror. Yeah, having a little bit of fun. So I'm going to move to my trimmers. And we're going to start going around some of these details. We're going to tilt you out a little bit. And again, with the wide teeth of my comb, I'm just lining this up a little bit. I really like the texture and how it blends into his beard. So I'm going to clipper over comb some of this, leave some of that so that it blends right in for him today. So I really enjoy the opacity that we have around his ears. It gives us some really nice crisp lines. And I love the contrast personally when you bring in a low taper, which I've started to set in here around the nape. So as I'm going around the ears, check yourself for some density. As I'm going around the ears and working that line, I'm trying to keep like we're holding a candy cane around his ear. Square to the floor for those crisp edges. Apparently
Hey,
we're
Joel.
trimming combs today. Yes, Steph?
Just wanted to share some of the love coming in for you. You got looking lovely, mate. Joel came prepared with the mannequin for the zones. Joel killing it like usual. Liking the haircut.
Hey. Thanks again for all the support, guys. And finding those little density pieces. Touch slightly. On my
Maybe we
shoulder
can just
here.
ask everyone out there what they think they would choose for products to style your crop today or what they'd like to see. Go ahead and give us your suggestions.
Absolutely. I have a couple things in mind, but I'm always open to hear what the crowd thinks. All right, so as I'm working into more details, still on the left-hand side, as I was working through his lines, we decided we're going to do clipper over comb. So I found my guide here, square, and we're just blending that in. To it. And remember to work into the light. You can see all those high points, those low points, those shadows. And using that bone structure as your reference here really gives you control. All right, so I'm going to move into the low taper. So I have, again, the taper blade, but now I have this at the open setting. Actually, I'm going to start in closed, clipper over comb, just to make sure that this is a smooth transition. Before opening that blade, notice I'm working in just this panel here. I'm going to tilt my clipper so that the blade is square to the skin. That actually extends that open guard or the open blade almost to a 1 rather than the half. And I'm going to start low and scoop. And that's going to help us very casually, very softly start our low taper. I'm going to take 2 ticks down. I'm going to bring it just a little bit lower, working out to that angle now. And still with that C flicking motion, down to the hairline, completely closed. And we're just softening that blend. Same idea here. Starting from that closed position, clipper over comb just to make sure it's smooth. Open. And starting with that flicking motion and working to that center. Two clicks. Work with the direction of the hair growth. And then 1 click. And finally, I like to personalize the cut using some blending, or yes, the blending scissors. And we're just skating over the top of this, making sure that it moves the way we like it. Right here where there's some real density, we can get this up out of the way and maybe even do a little point cutting with it. And this is really where you get to personalize it. This is where you might have seen Rob do the bloody knuckles technique. Today I'm going to do a little bit of I call it kind of an alligator cutting. It's not quite a slide cutting with the blending shears, but gives us some really cool texture and movement. I'll touch you just a little bit since I see a shadow right down bottom. And again, the blending shears, we're just skating over the top, making sure that there's no extra density. Once I get over that parietal ridge and crown, I can start doing a little bit more.
Looking good, Joel. I got a couple of suggestions. We got clay spray,
Sure.
severed head, or a couple just for you. Just, we got some more joining in from New Zealand, Thailand, and Rotterdam. Showing a little love.
The boys at home. Nice. Well, guys, thank you again for tuning in wherever you're from. It's a pleasure, a joy to be able to cut hair for you guys this morning. And thank you for all the positivity and support. All right, so the sides are looking nice and balanced. We've got this nice textured top. I'm actually going to start here in the crown and do a little bit of point cutting first. Has anyone told you you have a mass of hair, Steve?
Every time I get a haircut.
This is impressive. I knew he had a lot when I chose him to be my hair model. However, as I'm working through it, this is amazing amount, man. This is awesome. All right, so that alligator texturizing technique, I'll tilt you slightly forward. Bring all this forward because you might wear it that way. And so we're going to do a slide texturizing technique, but because it's with the blending shears, you got to keep it moving. So really, it's the last few teeth that do the cutting for this technique. And we're just kind of walking it down. And every 1/4 of an inch or so is how I'm spacing this out. Spending a little extra attention into this fringe, especially since he doesn't really do a parting. So that's got to move right for him. It's got to go up and back and all which ways. I'm going to roll my blending shears and do the same thing in a backhanded movement. And then again, checking any extra dense areas, making sure to leave a tuft of it right in his face, for good measure, of course. All right. Pardon me. So nobody ever wants to send their client out covered in all those little bits of hair, a little bit of talcum powder and a neck duster. Make a difference. All right, so we've got some nice texture, some awesome movements out of Steve's crop here. He's mostly clean, checking some of those details, making sure by hands that the blow dry is dry all the way through before we put any products into it. And today I want to use the severed head pomade and just a little dab of our surf cream. Now this is going to give a very dry, matte kind of texture. It's going to give him a lot of messiness, and it's water soluble, so it should last him today and be reworkable tomorrow. So I'm going to start with the severed head pomade. Ooh, ah, right? And I'm going to get 1 knuckle. We measure it by that first knuckle. Notice I spun the tin, which helps us emulsify it and break that down to start. And then the surf cream, also quite shiny. This one's awesome. No scent to this one, by the way. I'm going to use the back of my nail, and that's all we're going to use. This is a very, very dense sea salt, salt product.
Hey, Joel,
And so, yes?
could you tell us a little bit about REUZEL routine?
Oh, yes. So at the beginning, I used, well, I should say. The REUZEL routine is a 4-step process that we try to work into any of our services. The first step was that cleanser that I used, the blue hair tonic that is in all of our hair products, or excuse me, all of the water bottles as we start the service. The grooming tonic or surf tonic, we have a few different ones in the line. That's our wet styler. That's going to help you set your style. That's part of what makes it easy going and gives us lots of different ways to start the style. We just added some pomade, which we call polishing the pig. It's our way to dress it up and personalize the service. And finally, as I'm cleaning him up, speaking of that astringent foam earlier, I'm going to get, here, tilt forward, get a clean area. We're going to buzz that a little bit down to skin. And then I'm going to follow it with the astringent foam. And since I have the ability to today, just a spritz of our Cologne, our cologne. And that way we have Steve leaving the shop feeling fresh, feeling froggy, and minimal risk of any ingrowns or any issues like that. So using the astringent foam, we're going to squeeze that vertically. And work that down just into his hairline here where we brought everything down to skin. And there you go, man. This is an awesome crop, an awesome hairstyle. Guys, thank you very much. Steve, thank you very much. Steph, thank you very much. Can send it back to you.
Nice, looking good, Joel. Now the transformation, he's got a head of hair. All right, so yeah, thank you, Joel, for an awesome presentation. And before we leave, I do have some announcements for everyone. Definitely come back and join us on September 16th with Deidre Donald for another REUZEL Live. But also, we have Lane and Rob here in the States with us this month. So August 18th, they will be at Behind the Chair Dallas. And August 25th, they will be in Kansas City, Missouri. But we need some models. So if anyone has some hair or knows somebody with some hair that would like to get a haircut, definitely reach out and email Nicholas at reuzel.com. And also, don't forget about our Denver Academy. If you want to head over to reuzel.com and check it out, we have our modern cuts coming out September 8th and 9th, and the classics class will be October 13th and 14th. So yeah, so thanks again, Joel, and thank you everyone for coming out and hanging out with us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. So peace, love, and REUZEL hair grease. We'll see you.